Kevin De Bruyne was abandoned for being too quiet, betrayed by his teammate, and written off as a Premier League flop. This is the story of how every heartbreak forged Kevin De Bruyne into a legend. If you love stories of resilience that define the beautiful game, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because his journey is one for the ages. It all started in a garden under the Belgian sky. A young boy of football and a collection of flower pots that stood no chance. Over and over the sound of shattering terracotta would ring out, followed by a frustrated sigh from his parents. Finally, they laid down the law Kevin De Bruyne was only allowed to play with his weak foot. A punishment, they thought. But looking back now through the lens of history, we know it was a prophecy. A blessing in disguise. By 8 years old, Kevin De Bruyne was already making waves, already restless. 2 years he'd been at his local club KVV Drongen, and the ambition was already bubbling inside him. Kevin De Bruyne saw a higher level, a bigger challenge. And Kevin De Bruyne didn't mince words. Kevin De Bruyne walked right up to his coach and with the blunt honesty that would come to define him, simply said, "The training sessions are better at Gent." And just like that, Kevin De Bruyne was gone on to his new club. But things at Gent didn't get any easier. Kevin De Bruyne wasn't a troublemaker, not in the traditional sense. Kevin De Bruyne was just different. Intensely quiet, yet possessing a will of iron. Kevin De Bruyne was fiercely ambitious, brutally honest, and this combination seemed to unsettle everyone around him. It scared his teammates, it even scared his coaches. They saw this quiet intensity not as focus, but as a problem to be solved. They tried with all their might to make Kevin De Bruyne normal, to fit Kevin De Bruyne into a box Kevin De Bruyne was never designed for. But they rarely, if ever, succeeded. You can't tame a force of nature. There was one time back then when Kevin De Bruyne got so fed up with a coach who was constantly on his case, nagging him, trying to break his spirit. In a moment of silent protest, Kevin De Bruyne grabbed a hold of the goalpost and refused to let go. Kevin De Bruyne would stand there clutching the cold metal until Kevin De Bruyne felt Kevin De Bruyne had been truly heard, truly understood. His coach left, the sun went down, and still Kevin De Bruyne held on. By the time Kevin De Bruyne finally let go, it was nighttime. That very same coach would later look back, shake his head in admiration, and admit, "Kevin De Bruyne is stubborn like a mule." But I can see now that that's what made Kevin De Bruyne so great. His talent was undeniable, a whisper that grew into a roar, traveling far and wide across Belgium. The scouts at Genk heard it. They knew the kid was brilliant, and they knew Kevin De Bruyne was unhappy. So they made their move. They convinced Kevin De Bruyne to pack his bags, leave everything Kevin De Bruyne knew behind and move all the way across the country all by himself to play for them. Kevin De Bruyne was chasing a dream. But it was right at this moment on the cusp of his big break that Kevin De Bruyne would experience his first real shattering heartbreak. After a year of living in a sterile, lonely boarding home, Genk introduced a new program. Instead of housing young players on their premises, they would be placed with foster families. It was a chance for a real home, a sense of belonging. And so De Bruyne, along with 2 of his teammates, moved in with a new family. That first year away had been brutal for him. Kevin De Bruyne was already socially awkward back in his hometown, but now stranded across the country, surrounded by new faces and speaking with what they considered a funny accent. Well, as Kevin De Bruyne put it himself, they were the loneliest years Kevin De Bruyne would ever live. With this new family, though, a light began to flicker. Kevin De Bruyne felt safe. Kevin De Bruyne felt seen. Kevin De Bruyne wasn't so alone anymore, and that warmth helped Kevin De Bruyne to slowly, carefully fit in. After a full year with them, Kevin De Bruyne felt like everything was finally falling into place. In his own words, Kevin De Bruyne was doing good in school, doing good in football. No fights, no problems. As Kevin De Bruyne packed his bags for the summer break, Kevin De Bruyne waved them goodbye. They waved back smiling and told Kevin De Bruyne they'd see Kevin De Bruyne next year. But the moment Kevin De Bruyne walked through the door of his own home, Kevin De Bruyne knew something was wrong. Kevin De Bruyne found his mother in the living room, her face stained with tears. She looked at him, her voice trembling, and spoke the words that, in his own estimation, would shape the entire rest of his life. "They don't want you back." Kevin De Bruyne just stared. His mom continued, her voice breaking. "The foster family, they called. They said it's about who you are. They say that you're too quiet, that they can't interact with you. You're just too difficult." Those words hit Kevin De Bruyne like a physical blow. Too difficult. Because of who you are. Kevin De Bruyne obsessed over them, turning them over and over in his mind. Why hadn't they said anything to him? Kevin De Bruyne had been so focused on making it, on being the perfect guest, on not causing a single ripple of trouble. Kevin De Bruyne spent countless hours keeping quiet in his room, just waiting for the next training session. And it turned out that was the problem. As his mother finished explaining, Kevin De Bruyne didn't say a word. Kevin De Bruyne just walked over, picked up a football from the floor, went out into his backyard, and started kicking it. Kevin De Bruyne kicked it against a fence for hours, the rhythmic thud, thud, thud of the ball, a desperate drumbeat against the words, looping in his mind. It's about who you are. It's about who you are. And the worst part wasn't even the abandonment by people Kevin De Bruyne had come to see as his family. The worst part was that the club now saw Kevin De Bruyne as damaged goods. They'd been contacted. They now thought Kevin De Bruyne was a problem child. So much so that they weren't willing to pay for another foster family. Instead, they told Kevin De Bruyne he'd be sent back to a boarding house. But this one was different. This one was for the kids with problems, the troubled kids. Kevin De Bruyne was being cast aside. As the raw pain finally subsided, a cold calm washed over him. Kevin De Bruyne stood there alone in his backyard and said out loud to the empty air a promise to himself. "Everything is going to be okay. In 2 months, I'm going to be in the first team. No matter what, I am not coming back home a failure. No matter what." Kevin De Bruyne was 16 years old, and though he'd played a few matches for the B team, Kevin De Bruyne was, in his own words, a nobody. But when that summer ended, Kevin De Bruyne walked back into the Genk training ground a different person. I'll just quote Kevin De Bruyne directly because no one can say it better. "I had so much fire inside of me. It was mad. I remember the exact moment everything changed. We played on a Friday night. I started on the bench. When I came on in the second half, I just went crazy. You could feel the electricity in the air. Every touch, every run was fueled by that rejection. 1 goal. They don't want you anymore. 2 goals. You're too quiet. 3 goals. You're too difficult. 4 goals. They don't want you anymore. 5 goals. Because of who you are." Kevin De Bruyne had scored 5 goals in a single half of football. It was a performance so astonishing, so undeniable, that the club had no choice. De Bruyne was moved to the first team immediately. It had been 1 month and 20-something days. Kevin De Bruyne had beaten his own impossible promise. It's an incredible moment of defiance, isn't it? Turning that pain directly into power. I have to ask you all, what's the biggest obstacle you've ever had to overcome? And how did you find the strength to do it? Share your story in the comments below. I truly believe we can all draw inspiration from each other. And then something strange happened. Once Kevin De Bruyne was in the first team, a star in the making, the club started acting a little differently. They suggested paying that same foster family to take Kevin De Bruyne back. They even showed up the foster parents trying to explain it all away. They told Kevin De Bruyne it had all been a misunderstanding, that of course they wanted Kevin De Bruyne to stay. What they'd meant to say they stumbled was that maybe Kevin De Bruyne could just come over on the weekends. But before they could finish digging themselves out of the hole, De Bruyne looked them dead in the eye and said with that same quiet intensity, "You threw me in the trash. And now that I'm doing good, you want me back?" Kevin De Bruyne didn't wait for an answer. Kevin De Bruyne just turned his back and walked away. Years later, reflecting on it in an interview, Kevin De Bruyne admitted that maybe, just maybe, Kevin De Bruyne should have thanked them, because their rejection was the spark that lit the inferno. And indeed, the years that followed were something special. His first full season, Kevin De Bruyne barely played. The second, Kevin De Bruyne started getting more and more minutes, his influence growing with every touch. And by the third season, Kevin De Bruyne didn't just play in the league. Kevin De Bruyne took the league by storm, 5 goals and a staggering 16 assists. Kevin De Bruyne was the conductor of the orchestra leading Genk to their 3rd league title in the club's entire history, and they clinched it by the slimmest of margins, half a point. It sounds bizarre, I know, but it's true. In the Belgian league, in the event of a tie in points from the championship playoff, the points obtained in the first stage are halved, and if there's a fraction, it's rounded down. And that's exactly what happened. That same year, his star continued its meteoric rise. Kevin De Bruyne earned his debut for the Belgian national team, and instantly, everyone knew. Vincent Kompany, the captain. The leader said that by the time their very first training session together was over, all the senior players were buzzing, whispering to each other. "Did you see that? Did you see the kid Kevin De Bruyne's 19 years old, and he's already the best player in the team?" And here's a fun fact for you, his mother was actually born in Burundi in Africa. So technically, Kevin De Bruyne could have suited up for them instead. I wonder why Kevin De Bruyne didn't. But don't think for a second that this success had softened him. His career at Genk was still punctuated by that fierce, unwavering character. At just 19, Kevin De Bruyne felt it was his place to confront the team's star player, Elyanif Barda, and tell Kevin De Bruyne to his face that Kevin De Bruyne wasn't working hard enough in training. Then in 2012, Kevin De Bruyne got so disgusted with his team's poor performances that Kevin De Bruyne used a post-match press conference to declare, "I'm ashamed of my teammates, and I suggest that those who don't have the desire to play should just leave." In the end, though, it would be De Bruyne who would leave. Kevin De Bruyne signed for Chelsea, the giants of the Premier League, who were so blown away by his talent that they saw Kevin De Bruyne as the heir to Frank Lampard's throne. But first, Kevin De Bruyne would be sent on loan to Werder Bremen in the German Bundesliga. And there in Germany, Kevin De Bruyne quickly cemented his status as one of the world's most exciting young talents. While other prodigies made waves with flashy skills and elaborate tricks, De Bruyne's genius was in his simplicity. And somehow, that was even more impressive. It was just as the great Johan Cruyff had once said, "Football is simple, but playing simple football is the hardest thing there is." Even on a Bremen team that was flirting with relegation, De Bruyne was a beacon of light, pulling off 10 goals and 9 assists. Kevin De Bruyne casually walked away with the Bundesliga's Young Player of the Year award. The stage was set. It was time to go back to London and take over the Premier League. But focus. Focus was something De Bruyne would struggle with that season, because life was about to deliver its next crushing blow. It just so happened to be the year that his girlfriend cheated on him. And not just with anyone. With his childhood friend, a former academy teammate, and a current international teammate, Thibaut Courtois. And she wasn't discreet about it. She confirmed the entire sordid affair to the press, making sure to add the humiliating detail that Courtois gave her in one night, what De Bruyne hadn't given her in 3 years. To be fair, she would later claim she only did it as revenge, alleging that De Bruyne had cheated on her months earlier. But the damage was done. His personal life was in ruins. His form on the pitch hit rock bottom just when Kevin De Bruyne needed to be at his absolute best, and his manager José Mourinho was giving Kevin De Bruyne a relentlessly hard time. After just half a season at Chelsea, Kevin De Bruyne was sold. Kevin De Bruyne had managed only one assist and not a single goal. The English media had their headline, "Kevin De Bruyne was a flop." His next destination was Wolfsburg, a return to the league that had embraced him. And once again, in the face of heartbreak and humiliation, De Bruyne did what Kevin De Bruyne had always did. Kevin De Bruyne channeled his rage, his pain, and his disappointment directly into his game. In a twist of what seemed like poetic injustice, Courtois joined Chelsea right after Kevin De Bruyne departed. Yet De Bruyne remained calm. Kevin De Bruyne was the bigger man. When the Belgian national team coach gave Kevin De Bruyne the power to decide if Courtois should be punished for his behavior, De Bruyne put the team first, allowing Kevin De Bruyne to continue playing. In fact, that same year, De Bruyne was Belgium's top scorer in the World Cup, qualifying stage leading them to their first major international tournament in 12 long years. And once the next club season started, De Bruyne took the blank canvas Kevin De Bruyne had been given at Wolfsburg and painted an absolute masterpiece. 16 goals, 27 assists, an absurd number. 21 of those came in the league, which at the time was a new Bundesliga record. Kevin De Bruyne scored 2 goals in a demolition of Bayern Munich, a match that handed them their first defeat in nearly a year. Kevin De Bruyne led Wolfsburg to a German Cup title and a second-place finish, earning a place on the Ballon d'Or shortlist and winning the award for the Bundesliga's Player of the Year. And if you're wondering how a man could stage such a monumental comeback after having his heart so publicly broken, well, Kevin De Bruyne met his future wife. Kevin De Bruyne was still so insecure, so scarred by years of media persecution, that one of his friends literally had to take his phone and send that first text for him. But now De Bruyne says she changed his life. That without her, Kevin De Bruyne would never have been able to finally break out of his shell. By the end of that incredible year, they were expecting their first child. But of course, life wasn't done testing him. One morning, his wife woke up and she was bleeding. In that sterile hospital hallway waiting for news, De Bruyne felt a helplessness Kevin De Bruyne had never known. And in that moment, Kevin De Bruyne realized that there was so much more to life than football. In the end, thankfully, everyone was okay, but it was yet another life-changing moment. From that day forward, Kevin De Bruyne didn't play because Kevin De Bruyne had a fire of anger that needed to be fed. Kevin De Bruyne played simply because Kevin De Bruyne was in love with the game. And so with his past behind Kevin De Bruyne and his future in his hands, Kevin De Bruyne was ready for the next chapter. Kevin De Bruyne had conquered Belgium and Germany, but the Premier League still loomed the place of his greatest failure. We live for these stories of redemption and second chances here on Legends of Football League. If you do too, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss how this incredible journey unfolds and all the other legendary stories we have coming your way. 1 year after his massive €76 million move to Manchester City, making Kevin De Bruyne one of the most expensive players in league history, one man arrived who would change his life and the course of football history forever. Pep Guardiola. Ever since his return to England, the old labels had stuck. Flop, Chelsea reject. The media was just waiting for Kevin De Bruyne to fail. But then Guardiola sat Kevin De Bruyne down, looked Kevin De Bruyne in the eye, and said something that changed everything. Kevin, listen. You can be a top 5 player in the world. Top 5. Easily. If De Bruyne had always bristled under authoritarian coaches, this was the perfect approach. Pep didn't need to light a fire under him. The fire was already there. De Bruyne didn't feel the need to prove Guardiola wrong. For the first time, Kevin De Bruyne desperately wanted to prove a manager right. And with every single season that followed, the claims that Kevin De Bruyne was nothing more than a Chelsea flop crumbled bit by bit into dust. In his second season with Pep De Bruyne, topped the Premier League assist charts with 16 and was the creative engine of a City team that did the impossible, becoming the first club in history to hit 100 points in a single season. To come back from being called a reject and not just succeed, but to orchestrate a masterpiece like that, it's just poetic. If this story of resilience resonates with you, do me a favor and share this video with a friend who needs to see that it's never too late to prove everyone wrong. Over the summer, his form only continued to escalate. After a number of underwhelming tournaments, De Bruyne finally lived out his dream of bringing glory back to the Belgian national team. Kevin De Bruyne paired up with Eden Hazard to create one of the most exciting attacking duos in the 2018 World Cup. Kevin De Bruyne scored the spectacular winning goal to knock out Brazil in the quarter-finals before ultimately falling to France and then beating England to conquer the bronze medal, Belgium's highest-ever achievement at a World Cup. The Ballon d'Or rankings now officially considered Kevin De Bruyne a top 10 player in the world. Guardiola's prophecy was slowly becoming a reality. But 2019 proved to be another trial by fire. The injuries came one after another, relentlessly. Then the day after his second son was born, De Bruyne tore a ligament in his knee, leaving Kevin De Bruyne laid up in a brace. Kevin De Bruyne called his wife, and she noticed something she had never seen before, a tear in his eye. His voice cracked as Kevin De Bruyne told her, "I'm not going to be able to even dress myself. You're going to have 3 babies at home now." And Kevin De Bruyne broke down crying. She was as worried as she was shocked. Once he'd calmed down, she told him, "You didn't even cry at our wedding. You didn't cry when the kids were born, and one was literally born yesterday." Reflecting on that moment, Kevin De Bruyne would later say something that reveals everything about him. "Weddings and funerals. I'm a rock. But take football away from me, and I'm done. But worry not." Because once Kevin De Bruyne got back into shape, Kevin De Bruyne did not look back. The 2019-20 season became a signature campaign, a testament to his genius. And even if City failed to win the title that year with 20 assists, not to mention an extra 13 goals, De Bruyne had tied the legendary Thierry Kevin De Bruyne, NRI, for the league's all-time single-season assist record. Kevin De Bruyne was deservedly named the Premier League's Player of the Season. Ever since then, Kevin De Bruyne has continued to excel, a master artist painting his vision onto the green canvas of the pitch. Kevin De Bruyne is on his way to a 4th Premier League title, and just a few weeks ago, Kevin De Bruyne scored and assisted against Real Madrid in a Champions League classic, a heroic effort that still wasn't enough to see City through. That one trophy, the Champions League, is perhaps the one thing that keeps the debate going. The one thing separating Kevin De Bruyne from being inarguably head-to-head with any midfielder who has ever played the game. But as his manager, Pep Guardiola, once said, Messi sits on a table all by himself. But De Bruyne, Kevin De Bruyne can certainly sit at the table right beside it. Coming off a triumphant Premier League win in 2022, Kevin De Bruyne entered the new season as the undisputed architect of Manchester City. The 2022-2023 campaign was his symphony. With every perfectly weighted pass, every razor-sharp cross, he guided City toward a destiny they had chased for so long. The result: a magnificent historic treble, the Premier League, the FA Cup, and finally, the UEFA Champions League, the holy grail they craved above all else. Individually, KDB was simply untouchable. Crowned the Premier League's king of assists with 16 masterful setups, earning him the Playmaker of the Season award. A king on his throne at the summit of world football. Imagine standing on that podium, the roar of the crowd in your ears, having won it all. What do you think truly goes through a player's mind in that moment of ultimate triumph? Is it relief? Pure joy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But football, as we know, can be a cruel storyteller. At the absolute pinnacle of his career in that very Champions League final, disaster struck. A pop. A searing pain. His hamstring had gone. His dream night was cut short. That same ghost returned to haunt him in the opening game of the next season, forcing him into surgery and a grueling soul-testing layoff of nearly 5 months. Manchester City felt his absence like a missing heartbeat. But in early 2024, the maestro returned. And what a return it was. It wasn't just a comeback, it was a declaration. With almost his first touches, he was back delivering game-changing assists and decisive goals that single-handedly reignited City's title charge. While a second treble slipped away, his incredible influence was the driving force behind their record-breaking 4th consecutive Premier League title. Stories of resilience like this are what make football the beautiful game. If you want to hear more tales of legendary comebacks, underdog triumphs, and players who defied the odds, make sure you're subscribed to Legends of Football League so you never miss what's next. For his country, the journey was marked by different emotions. The 2022 World Cup in Qatar was a bitter end for Belgium's golden generation, a heartbreaking group stage exit. But from those ashes, a new leader was forged. De Bruyne was handed the captain's armband, a responsibility he embraced fully. He guided the Red Devils through the Euro 2024 qualifiers, becoming the inspiration for a new era. It was during this campaign that he also earned his 100th cap, a proud milestone for a man who gives everything for both club and country. And that's where our story of Kevin De Bruyne stands today, a master of his craft, forged in fire. What a journey it has been. I'm so eager to hear your thoughts. What part of his story hit you the hardest? Was it the rejection, the betrayal, or the ultimate triumph? Please share all your opinions, your favorite KDB moments, and any questions you have in the comments below. I love reading every single one and building this amazing football community together with all of you.